Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Stokes, this question may have already been asked, but I'm just really curious about thinking about the state of the economy right now, thinking about our school districts. We struggle in Idaho, as I'm sure you struggle in California, with having enough money for building schools and helping our children. I believe it's about $7,000 per pupil that you spend each year in California. Is that correct?
Approximately, that's my understanding as well.
What was the amount of money that was budgeted for construction of your school?
I believe the original, because it was so long ago, the original construction amount that was originally budgeted out of the bond was $20 million. Then as things began to progress with this, that budget was increased to $30.8 million.
And how much has been spent on litigation?
That I don't have an exact answer for you, but I would estimate right now, under my tenure as the program manager for that, between $100,000 and $200,000 to date in the last 3.5 years.
And what I think is missed sometimes is, we're talking about the cost of attorney's fees and whether somebody should get 120 or 400, which both of them are high, but really is the opportunity cost. That really is the biggest cost to the community. What do you think, can you estimate what your opportunity cost has been in this process?
Can you go back and then explain that by the opportunity cost?
Well, what could you have been doing instead of wasting all your time on this litigation and wasting all your energies on trying to figure out if a little shrimp is gonna be saved or not? What could you have been doing during this time in your school district?
Well, if the let me go back and answer that a little different way. If the lawsuit was not filed, the injunction was not filed, the school would be constructed and would have been populated in September of 2008. We would have had several, literally hundreds and hundreds of kids go through the school already. We would have had kindergartners. This would be their 5th or 6th grade graduating class as of this year. We would have been able to depopulate overcrowded schools that are in the close vicinity. We have 3 immediate schools that we would have depopulated immediately and put into SALC to populate them, thus reducing the class size at the overpopulated schools, or the schools that are at capacity right now, which is a real challenge for the district. Considering the economics and the quality of education, we're actually looking at increasing class sizes due to the budget, and construction of the school would take the pressure off of that in that community.
So in a time that you're actually thinking about increasing class sizes, and the science, there's different debates about whether that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Right.
But the reality is that you had the money allocated for this particular school. This is something that was actually approved by the voters of the area.
That's correct.
Correct.
Correct, sir.
In spite of having some financial difficulties, the people decided that they wanted another school, and now because of just a simple lawsuit, you're not able to provide the services that you want to provide.
That is correct. Just a quick story on that. One of the neighbors directly across from the SALC school site, when the school was originally promised to them, I believe his daughters were in upper elementary school. They now both have their PhDs. It's okay, they were evidently on a fast track, but according to him, they both have their PhDs now. So, long delay.
Amazing. Mr. Rolfe, current federal statute for the Equal Access to Justice Act and the Judgment Fund provide that attorney's fees cannot exceed $125 per hour unless the court determines that an increase in the cost of living or a special factor such as the limited availability of qualified attorneys for the proceedings involved justifies a higher fee. Why is the statutory rate of $125 per hour not adequate compensation in your opinion?
Well, actually, if you look at the time and effort spent on a case, many of the hours that one spends on a case are not compensable. An average law firm working for a large corporation on endangered species issues charges about $400 or $500 an hour.
But are they charging the federal government for that?
No, they're charging private entities.
Okay, so they're actually charging the private sector. You're charging the government. Why is that not adequate?
Well, because although those costs might sound high, it's actually very expensive to provide legal expertise to a client, and that's why a private firm charges the rates that it does. Equal Access to Justice Act awards are generally much less per hour, and I'm not really sure why environmental plaintiffs should, or environmental attorneys should expect to provide services at far less than the cost charged by the private sector.
Probably because you're getting your money from the public sector and you're also stopping schools like the San Diego school districts from actually doing the job that the voters want them to do. But thank you for your time.